What would you do if your own sister pushed your daughter into a pool, then called her the problem? Before I could even wipe the tears from my daughter's face, my parents had already chosen a side and it wasn't ours. If you've ever had to choose peace over family, you need to hear this. Subscribe to our channel and let us know in the comments. Where are you watching from? Your support helps us share stories that matter. My name is Rachel, and I'm from Atlanta. For the longest time, I believed if I just kept quiet, held my tongue, and didn't stir things up, my family would come around. I thought I could survive anything so long as I kept the peace. But that Sunday, at my parents' house, standing by the pool, watching my 7-year-old daughter shiver in soaked clothes, while everyone else acted like she had done something wrong, I knew something had broken for good. It was supposed to be a simple lunch, just my daughter Leia and me visiting my parents. She had just turned 7 the week before, still at that age where she spelled love with extra L's and asked me if butterflies had birthdays. I dressed her in a soft yellow cardigan and brought a tray of cookies we'd baked together the night before. I wanted them to see we were okay, even without a man beside us. When we got there, my sister Chloe was already seated like she was the host. Her heels clicked across the tiles like she was walking a red carpet. Designer sunglasses inside like she couldn't bear the glare of normalcy. She took one glance at Leia and scoffed, "You dressed her like a school librarian, Rachel." My mum laughed softly. Dad didn't even glance up from his phone. I bit my tongue. Again. Lunch was tolerable. Chloe dominated the table, as always bragging about her latest sponsorship deal with a skincare brand she clearly didn't use. Every now and then, she tossed jabs at me about being a stay-at-home mom. "You should really get back out there," she said, sipping wine like it made her wise. No man wants a woman who disappears into motherhood. I looked at my mom for help. She smiled at Chloe and topped up her wine glass. After lunch, we moved to the backyard for dessert. Dad turned on the pool fountain, trying to create ambience. The cookie tray sat between us. Chloe perched near the edge of the pool with her wine in one hand, her phone in the other, snapping selfies. Leia, always trying to be helpful, reached for the tray to pass cookies around. But her little fingers caught the edge of Chloe's plate, and in a blink, Chloe's wine glass tipped. A few drops landed on her white designer blouse. Chloe jumped up so fast, her chair scraped the concrete. "Are you kidding me?" she snapped, staring down at Leia like she'd spilled acid. Leia froze. "I'm sorry," she whispered, voice trembling. "I didn't mean to." But Chloe wasn't done. "Sorry? You ruin everything. You're always in the way," she screamed. I stood up, ready to pull my daughter back. But before I could even blink, Chloe shoved her right into the pool. They said I was unstable because I chose to protect my daughter from a woman who shoved her into a pool and laughed about it. Because I chose silence over screaming. Because I walked away instead of burning the house down. I stared at the email on my phone, hands shaking. It wasn't just Chloe now. My parents, the same people who stood there and did nothing when my daughter screamed for help, were now trying to take her from me. I couldn't believe it. I read the message again and again. It was real. They claimed I was emotionally volatile, that I had isolated Leia, that I was overreacting to a minor family disagreement. Minor? I dropped my phone on the kitchen counter, paced the room, and let the tears come. "Mom?" Leia peeked into the kitchen holding her stuffed rabbit. "Are you okay?" I knelt down, hugged her tight. "Yeah, baby. I'm just thinking." Because the truth was, I was done thinking. It was time to fight back. The next morning, I hired a lawyer. A good one. We pulled every message, every voicemail, every picture Chloe ever posted, bragging about being a cool aunt, and the ones I had where she screamed at a child over spilled wine. I gave my lawyer access to the hospital records from when Leia had panic attacks and couldn't breathe at night. And the video from our doorbell cam the day we left my parents' house, the one where Leia was sobbing in the car, still dripping wet. They had built a case. But I had proof. Still, nothing compared to the moment we walked into the court hearing and saw them sitting on the other side of the room, Chloe in her sunglasses again, as if we were an inconvenience to her schedule. Leia held my hand tightly. "Do I have to talk to them?" she whispered. I looked her in the eye. "No, sweetheart, not unless you want to." She shook her head. "Okay," I said. "Then you don't have to." And that's when I knew I wasn't just showing up as a mother. I was showing up as a shield. I stood behind the door, heart pounding, listening to my mother's voice crack through the wood. "Rachel, this has gone too far. You're being vindictive." My father chimed in, his tone sharp. "You're tearing this family apart over a little mistake." A little mistake? Pushing my daughter into a pool and calling her names. Trying to take her from me through legal lies. Publicly humiliating her and then calling it passion. I opened the door slowly. My face was calm. I'd had weeks to prepare for this moment. They looked tired. Mom's lipstick was smudged, and Dad's collar was wrinkled. I could smell the desperation on them. Mom tried to step inside. I held the door. "You're not welcome here," I said quietly. "Rachel," she pleaded, "we just want to talk." "You had a chance to talk," I replied. "At that lunch, when Chloe pushed my daughter into the pool and you watched. When you told me not to be dramatic. When you helped her try to take her away from me." Dad rubbed his face. "That wasn't the plan. We wanted to make sure Leia still had access to her family. Chloe regrets it." "Regrets it?" I laughed once, bitter and sharp. "She lost her brand deals. You lost your retirement spot. And now, you regret it?" Mom's eyes welled up. I took a breath. I wasn't angry anymore. Just done. Leia is safe. That's what matters. You don't get to walk into her life again just because you're uncomfortable with consequences. "Don't do this," my mom whispered. But I already had. I stepped back and began to shut the door. "Goodbye." Then I paused. "Oh, hand Chloe. If she wants to know what real passion looks like, tell her it's a mother willing to burn everything down to protect her child." And with that, I closed the door behind me. Her whole image unraveled slowly at first, then all at once. Every time she tried to rebrand, something new surfaced. A clip, a message, a story. People didn't forget the video of her screaming at a little girl by a pool. They didn't forget the headlines about her sister filing a restraining order. And most of all, they didn't forget that line. "If she's so passionate, why's the child still crying?" That one lived rent-free in comment sections for weeks. But I didn't watch her downfall like a spectator at a show. I didn't celebrate it. Because it was never about revenge. It was about making sure no one else suffered quietly like I did. Like Leia almost did. One evening, I walked into our living room, tired from a day of planning a quiet flame event. Leia was sitting on the floor with paint all over her hands, surrounded by paper and glitter and glue sticks. "Mom," she said brightly, "I made you something." She held it up with both hands. It was a painting. Messy, colourful, bold. In the centre, a tall figure with brown curly hair stood in front of a smaller girl in yellow, arms spread wide like a shield. "That's me," she said, pointing to the girl. "And that's you. You're protecting me." I smiled and pulled her into my arms. "You protect me too, you know." She laughed. "From what?" I brushed a smudge of blue paint off her cheek. from forgetting who I am. Because truthfully, I had forgotten. Before Chloe shoved my daughter into that pool, before my parents tried to take her from me, I was just surviving. Now I was living. And we were both finally safe. The air in the auditorium felt heavy and warm from applause, but all I could feel was Lia's heartbeat as she pressed into my chest, her arms tight around my waist. Her cheeks were flushed, her eyes bright. "Did you hear them, Mom? They were clapping for me." "I heard, baby," I whispered. "I heard every word." We stood there in the aisle for a moment longer, the crowd settling, the lights dimming, but I could still see them. My parents. Way in the back. Still, silent, small. Once, they would have owned a room like this. Now, they didn't even know how to exist in it. And I didn't feel anger. Not anymore. I just felt sure. Sure that walking away wasn't weakness. Sure that love is louder than fear. And sure that Chloe, my parents, the entire toxic mold I was raised under, ended the moment I decided to speak. No more silence. No more shrinking to fit someone else's comfort. Just me and my daughter. Free. Honest. Unapologetic. We left the auditorium hand in hand, stepping into the late afternoon sun. She skipped a little ahead and twirled like a sunflower in bloom. I smiled. "Want to get ice cream?" She gasped. "Can I get 2 scoops?" I grinned. "You can get 3. We laughed all the way down the sidewalk. No shadows behind us. Only light in front. If you've ever had to choose peace over pleasing, or protect your child from people who called it family, you're not alone. Like this video, share your story in the comments, and subscribe to our channel for more powerful journeys like this one. And tell us, where are you watching from? Your voice matters here.